art and like some materials from the games.
Mm-hmm.
I have the first 2 volumes of those, which basically cover 1 through 10.
I forgot about that.
Right, I forgot that too. Jeez. They really could have changed that effect for this ring.
They really could have,
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because I have the one that has a section on Final Fantasy III right here in front of me right now. First thing I will mention about it, very briefly, a big part of the page count is dedicated to the new characters that they made for the remake, because what else would they write about character-wise? And, you know, features concept art for that version, too, which is nice. It blends a bit of the remake and the old stuff, and, like, talks about them clearly and separately. But one of the interesting things that came up in this, there are some, like, a lot of this is just concept art highlighting certain memorable moments from the game and like talking about particularly memorable characters, stuff like that. There are some like making of materials, like sprite designs, how they were sketched out before being put into the game, some scenario planning, stuff like that. One of the very fun and interesting ones is there's a monster list, and I will just read this because it has an entry for Xanda. Xanda, perhaps the strongest magic user in the world, who learned from the same teacher as Master Doga, used the power of the Earth Crystal to throw the world into chaos. A cold and beautiful woman uses the 4 dark crystals of the other dimension corresponding to the wind, fire, water, and earth crystals to create the ultimate monster in an attempt to destroy the world. So, in very early plans, Xanda was a woman.
Weird. Wild.
Yeah, it's so...
I wonder if that
even
informed,
in this document.
I wonder if that informed some of the idea behind Cloud of Darkness's design, maybe at the time.
Maybe. That's part of what I was going to go into. Cloud of Darkness is mentioned here. It's just called, instead of being called the Cloud of Darkness, it's the Darkening Cloud. At least how they've translated it here, because obviously in Japanese it wasn't. The point being, it was translated this way by the folks translating the Ultimania to illustrate the fact that the name was slightly different. Anyway, here it says the strongest monster in FF3, the ultimate enemy created by Xand through the boundless power of the 4 dark crystals. Looks like a woman trying to emerge from a mass of spiritual energy. Its entire form is lead-colored, and because it is incomplete, only its top half has formed. A peerless beauty. Here's my theory, and this is entirely speculation, because there's like no speculation here in the book, or like anything mentioned directly in this decoration. I wouldn't be surprised if in even earlier documents the Cloud of Darkness was a second form for Xand, a lot like the other bosses in Final Fantasy 1 and 2. The final bosses all had second forms.
And the thing they do in other future games as well.
They do it a lot in future games,
A lot
too.
of future games. In fact, I want to say 3 and 4 might be some of the few where they are very much the exceptions to the rule in general.
No, there's a second form in 4.
Oh yeah, I guess right. I was thinking of how Zemus comes out of nowhere after Golbez. I was making that connection, and then I forgot about right. Zemus becomes Zeramus
Yeah, he still has the second form.
So
thing
three,
going
so
on.
3 is one of the few exceptions then, just by itself.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah, my theory there is entirely that in an even earlier version of the game, the connection might have been much more direct, Zand, as part of the pursuit for power and regaining immortality, turns into the Cloud of Darkness. I wouldn't be surprised if that was like a very, very early version, and they might have broken away from it partially because, hey, we've done this twice. But I also kind of suspect that once they decided to go the route they did, whenever it happened, maybe it was right away, it was decided that Zand would be a man partially to differentiate between them a little more clearly.
Yeah.
To make it clear, this is not a second form. This is a different being.
yeah. Also, you can only think of Dissidia when thinking of Onion Knight, and Call of Darkness. That's very common because that is where those were some of the more drastic design. That's where the most sort of big change between two designs happened for the Dissidia designs. Like the only one that I would say was a bigger jump, and even then not really much compared because of it being more a mono art, was the FF1 Warrior of Light. But yeah, definitely the designs were more or less codified in their modern, in sort of the modern sense. I mean, I think part of it also is that most Western fans were not really aware of those characters
Until they
before
showed
Dissidia.
up. Yeah. Also, just generally, we can outright say it because we've seen, I think, all of the characterization she gives. Cloud of Darkness isn't much of a character.
No,
She's just here to destroy everything as an embodiment
She is-
of darkness.
she's a force.
She
She's
doesn't
a
have
force,
anything
yeah.
going on other than that.
She is much more just a force in this game.
But yeah, the main thing that makes me think a Cloud of Darkness could be an alternate form of Zand is mostly just the way that the boss fight with Doga and Une goes, where they both have secondary forms. It would make a lot of sense if Zand had one of those two. Even though, obviously, he doesn't. He just is a big sorcerer guy. And then you beat him, and then Cloud of Darkness shows up.
No, I don't want Moving Blade. I want you to be defensive. All right, it's time for everyone's big moment once again.
You fell for it. Whatever it was.
Yeah, Doga, Une, and Zande have the same teacher. So yeah, it makes sense that they would have similar techniques like that. It's funny also that Zand is the actual like villain of this game, the actual like antagonist, but he's not really much of a presence overall, but he's still more of a presence than the Emperor was.
Yes, definitely.
I think it's a better, more well done version of this sort of this sort of present but not physically antagonist.
Yeah. I think it helps that there are far more antagonists showing up who are directly saying, I am here on orders of Zand. I am the one causing this specific problem.
Yeah.
There were like, what? There was...
It's not going for, this is Zand's, we are fighting against Zand's empire. We're fighting against Zand's army and such. As like, no, it's like we are fighting against people working for a villainous character named Zand. I think part of it also is that, him having a name definitely gives him more of a presence the emperor, just having an evil the emperor, like, is much less of a singular presence when you hear about it. That doesn't come off as like a real person you might have to face at some point.
And there's also just less characters serving under him. Like, here we've got, I can't name them off the top of my head because they are mostly still monstery folks we just sort of fight.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, really the only person who was a character that was working for the Emperor, other than Leon, of course, which is its own separate thing that's so complicated you can't really connect it to that, is Borgen.
I mean, even then, I think
Borgen just sort of dies.
Was Borgen working for the Emperor, or was he working for Leon? That's the thing. Like, I don't remember.
Borgen was working for... Hold on. Let me...
Because that's the thing I was thinking. I was like, Leon is much more of a... The Dark Knight and such is just much more of a... Feels like a character, even with that title, But even then, Solo. God, I forgot how much of a vampire's hand looks like. Look at that guy.
Okay. Yeah, he's really good. Here's what the Ultimania has to say about Borgen. Going back to 2 for a second. Former Count of Finn, who betrayed his country to become a captain in Empire Palmacia. Borgen doesn't care for anything other than his own ambitions. His blusterous arrogance makes him deeply unpopular among his troops. Yeah, that sounds right. He assumes control of the Dreadnought construction project from the Dark Knight, but foolishly lets Fury on his friends sneak in right under his nose. Borgen is blind to his own incompetence and meets a fitting end when he attacks the heroes in his cave.
Yeah.
So,
translation, fuck him.
Translation, fuck him, and also, no, he was kind of opposed to the Dark Knight, but also at the same time was...
I think the fact that I didn't remember any of that kind of says a lot about how the story of 2 went.
Exactly.
Also, hey, Rockaway,
it's
thank
really
you for
not
dropping
established in. Well.
This is you are a relatively new follower since yesterday. I am doing this thing with my friend Tieria here. Every Tuesday, I am playing through the Final Fantasy series with the goal of eventually having played through 90% of the series, not including certain spin-offs. We're currently on our third game, Final Fantasy 3. We are here today to finish it. So far, this is going again. I wanted to do this whole fight again to show off how compared to last time when we were level 34, 38 or something, fighting's end, how we were very much on the back foot, and now we are kind of just holding our own, but we're not, still not sweeping it. Like we have found the game has found a decent middle ground in design that feels good, unlike the first one feeling too easy to break and the second one feeling too overly rude while also being nothing at the same time.
And we're still under-leveled compared to what the guide I looked at last time suggested we be at. That's at 75 or something, which seems a little...
75 is the very safe level, probably.
Yeah. I do wonder, thinking about it, if partially why you even needed to go back and grind in the first place was we do have a mini-map. Which means, inherently, you're probably going to be running into a few less random encounters than what's expected.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know if it has that big an effect, but I wonder.
I think that's a reasonable thought, for sure. That might be part of the inherent design of the game. I mean, that's the inherent design of, you know, this kind of RPG is you're going to be wandering a dungeon, fighting a lot of enemies, and naturally leveling up as you go. And yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Now we just got one dungeon left.
Mm-hmm. And thus were the Warriors of Light defeated, and thus ends Final Fantasy III.
Real bummer ending.
Yep.
Didn't we already make this joke? I feel like we did.
I don't know if we made this joke
Not,
last
why
time or not.
we?
Also, shoutouts again to the Magus death sprite, even on the overworld being just a pile of hat.
It's real good.
They could really stand to stop doing that effect. All right. I don't remember if that treasure was worth it or not. Easy peasy. Nope. Wrong one. Ah, Kage of Street Fighter V fame.
They really throw a lot of ninjas at you in the back half here.
Yeah, they really were very enamored with the idea of ninja being the ultimate physical fighter. Oh, right. Right, this is the ribbon. This is the ribbon chest, right.
Which, I don't think this will be a problem now.
No.
And it's probably worth getting.
In fact, we actually have more shurikens than we did last time, so I'm going to use a shuriken. Yeah, that's decent damage, I guess. There we go. Yeah, look at that. That was...
Yeah, that was a snap.
That was downright...
Last time that was killing us.
That nearly killed us last time, yeah. We had to use up our reflect items and everything.
Well, who it is?
More of Scylla. There are many Queen Scyllas.
Mhm.
Oop. Forgot this start. This just started right away. Oh well.
It's fine. I still love this sprite.
It's a pretty good sprite, yeah. So dang, 26 hits is a lot.
Yeah. Still hits like hell.
Yeah, but I mean everything's gonna hit hard. It's what's important is that we can survive it.
Only health that matters is the last point.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, because that's the guy in critical. Generally, is that we don't get the advantage of him blocking attacks on himself.
It's fine.
Hey, don't do that.
Rude. I mean, I honestly think it's fine if it does that, because that doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Comparatively. Oh no, please don't heal yourself for a little over 500 damage. We're all in the thousands.
Oh no, you've nullified my knight's attack. Anyways, here's Flare.
Oh no, like a tenth of my health. And you got probably 1% of your health back. What the hell?
Yeah. She do be having a lot of health though.
Yeah.
Oop.
Oof.
Just enough to kill the white mage. Viking can reliably taunt, but Viking only can taunt physical attacks, and most of the bosses have been doing magic primarily.
Big magic hits, yeah.
That's why I kind of moved off of Viking, is that sadly does not help much against the things we're facing now.
I will fully admit, one of the things I have been thinking as we go through this one, I do overall think it is very good, but considering the very specific problems we've been having in combats, I've just been thinking, gosh, it's going to be nice when they actually think of the ATB system, huh?
Yeah, the ATB system is very good for... It's a system that I have taken for granted in the past.
It gives you a lot more control than you sometimes give it credit for.
Yeah.
Like, I've never thought it was bad or anything, but
I am still of the opinion.
It's very apparent.
I'm still of the opinion that the worst implementation of it, though, is Final Fantasy VII R. I don't like how it works in that.
Well, it's a very different system.
I know.
I haven't finished 7 on myself. I really like how it plays.
Okay, I mean,
I also
I do really like how that game plays overall. I just don't like I just don't like one specific thing, and that is the way items work.
items are an extreme cost considering how much they get done. I won't argue that.
It is a very extreme cost for something that is kind of strictly necessary, I think, for getting through that game. I think items are not a thing. I think the cost would make sense if items are, you know, something you're not expected to use very often, but I think you can't reliably get through that game, generally speaking, you know, completely blind with. Yeah, I mean, the other problem with this is being that, you know, part of the issue is that the game does not teach you how to play itself properly, as with a lot of action games do, and so you don't. You might end up, you know, on the back foot a lot more often
Right.
in fights, and thus the when you're on the back foot, that cost of items is really devastating. One of the Warriors of Dark. When the powers of light or dark become too great, the cloud of darkness is created to return the world to the void. Only the hope inherent in the forces of light and dark can stop it.
Okay.
Again, the Final Fantasy XIV team really likes FF3, dang.
Also, it's a little confusing. Oh,
Hey!
they heal us? Nice.
Full
That's
heal.
sick. Okay, that's really nice, considering how much of
Like,
slog I was expecting.
yeah, I'm gonna say, I've been thinking about it as I'm, you know, more and more as we go further in. Damn, they really learned how to make dungeons finally.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
made good dungeons.
Yeah, this is the first really good one. I don't think the Final Fantasy 1 is interesting.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 1 is a very
has a lot of
interesting-
good stuff to it.
It's good in a very specific way, but not like in a way that I can just recommend to anyone who wants to play an RPG. You know, like.
Yeah. 2 is ambitious, and that's the nicest thing I can say about it.
Yeah.
This one's just good.
2 is not the worst Saga game, but
Well,
that's not a very high. That's not a very high bar.
That's because nobody was really letting that designer go off on his bullshit yet. Anyway,
It's not Unlimited Saga. It's not the bad. It's not the rude DM game.
On top
What is
of that,
this?
this is like, oh nope, not there.
I wanted to see what's beyond this door right now.
From what I've heard is beyond that door, it is a boss fight with the Cloud of Darkness where if you haven't activated the 4 crystals, you just die. You
Oh.
might want to quick save before you go in there.
Okay.
I'm glad this
I mean, hey,
encounter
there's
happened so I
auto
can
saves,
warn
so
you.
like at least that would have caught me if you
Yeah,
hadn't. But
yeah.
thank you.
That's the one not nice thing this dungeon does.
Nope.
Ah,
Okay, there's a little bit of dungeon before you get there.
I see. Also, it opens up with platforms symbolizing the final boss's name. Cloud of Darkness.
Boo.
The other thing I was gonna say is, like, this is the first one that has, like, I would say, concrete themes that they're clearly trying to go
Yeah,
after.
For sure.
Rather than just writing an adventure story.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like
There
one
was a hint of
one
that at the end of 2.
FF1
Right?
is very much like we've said multiple times. FF1 was a D&D game. FF1 was a D&D adventure scenario, more or less.
And there was like a big twist at the end, but not really in
Yeah.
any way other than to like have a surprise at the end.
Like, I mean, we brought up those interviews last time, and they straight up mentioned in those interviews, yeah, we're a bunch of D&D nerds over at Square, at least in the 90s.
Yeah. 2 had a little bit of a hint of it at the end of just like war changes people, we went through war, but none of it's really super coherent.
No.
This at least has a couple of themes, like one of good and evil being slightly more complicated than you'd expect, but with the warriors of light and darkness both very early on being established to both be good forces in the world. There was a little bit of that with like the kingdom, where their king was making them war against each other, and like
the king was just making his own.
Yeah,
he split his own soldiers and made them fight each other and called that a war, and it's
still
very
silly.
funny.
But like that still also served the point and purpose of being like part of that theme of, even though the king is the rightful ruler, he's not correct in this situation because he's been possessed by a weird ghost, or weird bird. And there's also the theme of how you have to accept mortality, which, you know, mostly just applies to Zand and other
31, 5, 16.
But like, it's there.
23, 3, 20. So we're getting more magic defense, and that's pretty useful, I think.
Yeah, at this point in the game, I think.
Like, we're losing a little bit on the physical defense, but yeah, magic defense is just
and
so much
not
stronger.
having to worry about status effects, definitely, really, certainly.
Shadow Master.
Shadow Master. She is the Shadow Master, a Canon Films production.
Oh, goodness.
So, I'm doing a slight PC upgrade soon. In that I'm getting more RAM. Because it turns out 8 gigs of RAM is not enough if you are doing.
If you're doing
as
like
much bullshit
20
in the
things at
background.
once while you stream.
Yeah, if you're running like... If you're, say, running a program to simulate a 3D version
The
of
Wrath of
yourself
Dark.
while also playing a video game.
That's a Cerberus. It's a very
so small!
so small.
Why are you so small?
How'd you get so small?
But one of the things I'm sort of crossing my fingers that it might help me actually do is, I think it might help me finally be able to consistently stream Sega Saturn games,
That'd
which
be cool.
would be very good because there's so many I want to play.
Yep.
Like, I bring this up partially because, did you know that there was a Shinobi game, a game in the Shinobi series for the Saturn?
I was not aware of that. I don't know a lot about most games on the Saturn, outside of
That's
like Panzer Dragoon Saga.
That's fair. Most people don't. I've mostly been looking into it lately. Anyway, there's a Shinobi game I found called Shinobi X. Shinobi X is a little different from the rest of the series because, one, it features pre-rendered sprites taken from real-life pictures of actors. Think Mortal Kombat style. And 2, it has FMV cutscenes
Oh boy.
in a Shinobi game.
Oh boy.
I've seen like the opening cutscene is one of the best things I've ever seen. I really want to play through that one on stream.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand that desire.
There are so many weird games on the Saturn, but it's a console that had 4 processors and used quads. Emulation has to take a couple of extra steps to make it work.
Yeah.
And that puts a lot of demands on my CPU, which I think my CPU can meet while streaming. But it also puts a lot of memory demands on it. And I think that's been my problem with trying to run them on stream. Because, like, they ran mostly fine, I just had garbled audio. But it was, like, to a level that it was unacceptable to me. But I don't know if that'll happen. I hope it can, though.
I put Reflect on my ninja in hopes that, you know, the character with the least amount of defense against magic would get hit by a magic spell, but... and reflect back at the boss, but no! The boss refuses to do them.
That's how it goes. I do kind of wish we had a step above potion.
That would be nice, yeah. This is before they start doing X potions and all that, all that in this series. They got there, and we didn't even have to do the belly phase.
Much less. Yeah, we didn't. They really went all out when they came up with the boss fight for Cerberus in 14, huh?
Yeah. I mean, all the boss
In a
fights in
very
the raid
weird way.
series were them going all out, because these are just regular-ass enemies here. Like, the only one that really you can really see what carried forward is Behemoth, and that's because of meteors.
Yeah.
And that's just a Behemoth thing, basically, at this point.
I feel like design-wise they could have done something with Echidna, but that's the one that they didn't include in that series.
No!
A single world of nothingness. A void. The Wrath of Dark.
Yeah, it's funny. I just heard like so much talk about this game, like from other people who played it. It's just like, yeah, it's really not that great. And it's like, no, this is compared to the first two, this is downright amazing.
Yeah, I think partially it's playing the first two right before it.
Yeah, true. And also, this is definitely, obviously, the nicest version of this game.
This is the nicest version. It smooths out a lot of the stuff that would... I am going to say one thing. I do think that a certain level of having, like, the point cost to change jobs or stuff like that would also have probably helped with making sure we were at the level we needed to be for this stuff.
Probably, yeah.
And, like, I don't know. It's a little weird to have mechanics to encourage grinding. I feel like we'd call that bad design nowadays. But I do think it would kind of give a feel of taking time when you give your characters a new class, or are preparing them for a new class, either way, giving them time to, like, train and get stronger. And I think that's kind of neat as an idea, at least. In practice, probably wasn't that fun, but... Yeah.
And of course, you know, this is coming from a time standards for games have definitely changed. Overall, you know, we have there's more available to us. There's more that, like, at the time, like we this isn't like, you know, one of the only, you know, RPGs, you know.
Yeah. And quality of life is just more valued as a thing. as part of your game playing experience.
Yeah, the target audience for this game was teenagers and not, nearly 30-year-olds.
Yeah, yeah, like different audience, different focus, just different policies when approaching design in general. Well,
we can go all the way up for the ribbon,
yes.
but it looks like there is just a shortcut straight to the end for this one.
And yeah, and there'd be another ribbon we can get. We only need one more.
Yeah.
So
it is nice.
fine.
It is nice that they give you, 4 ribbons in this part.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like an
that,
additional.
If you chose not to go to Eureka, you would,
Yeah.
I like how the little 4 orbs have a different way of surrounding you in each one of these.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
It's cute. Ah, the 2-headed dragon. They double and a half to you for the raid.
I assume to connect it more to the thing going on with those mirrors earlier with the 5 dragons there.
Yeah. Oh, probably, yeah. I mean, the fact that they made Amon an actual part of the Crystal Tower and not a separate thing, like he is here, where he is in Eureka instead. Which is also funny that Eureka's presence in 14 is to be the place with the most direct reference to Final Fantasy V instead.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little weird, but it's fine. And also 11. There's a big reference to 11.
Yeah, I knew that too. Rip.
But yeah, this is a very solid complete game.
Yeah. Like, it's not yeah, there's a lot more niceties and a lot more, better designed systems in later games in the series. But like, this is definitely where it's definitely where the series itself as a whole takes hold, how Final Fantasy is going to be overall from this point onward.
Yeah, this
starts
feels
here.
like the formula. Formula, as much as FF has a formula, this is kind of where it really takes shape.
Much in the same way to another one of my favorite series, Legend of Zelda, had a similar thing of like. Zelda 1 is, still a rather good game on its own and is very similar, but not entirely to the rest of the series. Zelda 2 is a very strange and controversial game, but then the third Zelda is the codifier for what that series is for pretty much the entire time it's existed, except until very recently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it goes back a little bit to the first game. While still being a lot of the ideas from that started in Link to the Past. I mean, it was just kind of a thing for games of of just having a really wild sequel, and then the series as it would continue onward begins in the third or so game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes a certain amount of sense, especially in stuff. You would have to take the time to figure things out because you were doing relatively new stuff. Like,
yeah,
it is worth.
Game design was being discovered in real time. Also, dang.
Yeah.
Just not we were not very damaged, but it was enough that could just kill us. Throw a shuriken.
I feel like Mario, once it was actually properly Super Mario, was pretty much the right shape right away.
Mario
By the
Brothers
way.
1 is still like the actual gameplay is still very much like what Mario would be for a while. But Mario 3 is where like a lot of how progression through those games kind of started.
Yeah, I
The whole
would
sort of
say there's still like, yeah, that
the overworld, like mostly just the overworld map idea, which is a thing which is a thing they've done in a lot of Mario's, even though that very much more took hold in Super Mario World, where the overworld map was a whole thing.
yeah.
Like
The thing I was gonna say partially is just games like Mario had existed in the past, which also helped it get a leg up.
Yeah.
Someday the void will consume us all. Don't worry about it.
It's very funny. I wonder how much of the script got an overhaul for this version, or not.
I feel like in this version they probably kept it pretty close.
Probably. I mean, obviously, this is a new localization for sure. This is the first time it's been localized officially. So there is definitely, it's a lot cleaner than any of the other ones would have been. Coming in being localized originally. But it's one of those things where it's like without seeing, having seen how it was originally, I do feel a little like maybe like what if we are judging it far nicer than it deserves because this is just a very, 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 very good version, But but not to be like a downer about it or nothing.
Yeah,
I think,
no, I get where you're coming from. I just also like I feel like even including all of that, there's enough here. I could see playing a version of this game where the mechanics are rougher and still enjoying it a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, is what I'm saying.
For sure.
Because like I've played through shit like
Ooh, this is a
I played stuff like King's Field for fun.
Yeah, true.
So
fair.
like rough mechanics are good to deal with sometimes, in my personal opinion.
Oh no, I agree.
And like I was saying, I think there are certain parts of this game that would probably feel very interesting with more restrictions to class switching and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Not that they'd necessarily be good or enjoyable to go through at the moment, but
yeah.
this kind of does have me tempted to play the original version of this game.
Oh yeah, same. I mean, I want to play the original version of this game, regardless, for sure. Like, I don't know that I want to play the original version of 2, necessarily, but...
I don't. I definitely don't. There's, like, discounting everything else, just, there's not enough connective tissue in 2 to make it feel like a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he reminds me of. Xander's clone looks like fucking Dimitri Darkstalkers, but without a shirt.
Look at that big damage from the ninja. Good.
Yeah. Ninja can just pop off sometimes. Also, throws ridiculous.
Yeah, throw is absolutely nuts.
I wonder what made them decide to make throw so powerful. Maybe because just they knew they could limit shuriken so much.
Yeah, shurikens are very hard to come by, and like there is one shop at the end of Eureka that you can buy more, and they're very expensive. Garm.
That's just Cerberus recolor.
Yeah.
You put a recolor to one of the bosses you introduced in the fight. It was that, yes, they have a lot of limitations.
Yeah. At least Queen Scylla is a rather unique sprite. I say, of course, not having seen all 4 of these bosses, so who knows? Maybe this is gonna be the other Queen Scylla sprite. Who knows? Oh no, that's right.
Didn't we fight Queen Scylla in Eureka?
Did we?
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
I think we did. I think you're right. I think we did.
She was, yeah.
I think it was just
She was
regular
definitely
Scylla
awesome.
in Eureka.
I love this charming little guy.
Yep, this is just what the guy looks like in the raid.
He's got a little circle. In the raid to differentiate himself from a normal army, because these guys just become regular enemies. They call him Anger Mind, which is
Hey,
fun.
there's that classic number.
Classic number of did Max stand?
Yep. But yeah, I do think this is just this is a profoundly interesting game, no matter what. And like I said, and like 2 is also an interesting game, just not in a way that I want to play it again.
Yeah. I'm glad I saw it played all the way through, just because of
Yeah, we've experienced
all that.
2, and that's good enough. We can say that no one can say that our opinions on 2 are based on nothing. So god dang it.
It did so little damage. This bastard. That felt like a taunt.
Yeah. That was just saying I'm not going down without making you hurt.
Oh. Right after Vinny got up.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, that's not good. Okay,
Hey.
good. That's about as good as that could go.
Please God, let me heal.
Nope.
It's not entirely a gauntlet, it's just a series of... It's just 4 separate bosses that also you get to heal between at the end of 4 little mini parts of this dungeon.
Yeah, if we
It's
didn't
just
get to heal at the end
this
of
guy.
these, I'd say it was a gauntlet.
Yeah,
But...
this guy, it's just this guy right here. This guy was a lot harder than I expected out of what we've seen so far in this dungeon.
I think, yeah, using more than one shuriken on this guy would be justified.
I mean, Kiraja for just... I should do Kiraga on the whole party just because other people need healing. But yeah, more shurikens for the eyeball.
I think the thing that's making this rough, more than anything, honestly, is that he's just very slightly faster.
Yeah, he's a very fast one of the boss compared to the others.
He's very slightly faster than our healer. That's gonna be rough. But when we really don't have a lot of control or information about our turn order in this game.
Yeah.
Which again, probably my biggest complaint about the battle system, and they are fixing that next time.
Yeah, well, this is the last. We are going to get ATB, which is just, at least in its original incarnations, much better for information's sake.
You have a much better sense of
it. Will.
If I'm using an action, it will go off almost immediately. It is possible an enemy will act before I do, but you know, I've entered the action. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
It will serve its purpose until the much better turn order, until the much more fun and much more interesting turn order system happens in 10.
Yeah, 10 gives you a lot more control
10's turn order system is very good, and there's a reason why people liked it a lot, and why I've liked it in the new Pokemon game as well. Even if that version could stand to be a little more clear about some certain bits of information with it.
I mean, that one's also complicated by the fact that you have one party member.
Yeah.
Effectively.
I just want them to let me see the turn order when it's not my turn. That's my one desire from that game. Is that I would like if the turn order in Pokemon Legends Arceus displayed during not my turn, so I could see so I could at least see when the enemy changes the turn order by their own actions. It wouldn't make a difference to how the fights go. It would, but it would at least let me feel better about knowing it's about to happen.
And this is just an aside, because now I'm thinking about it.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, the Agas aren't actually that dangerous.
Well, they're dangerous on 2 party members, but not very dangerous on the magic users.
Bringing up 10 and its systems is making me think about the entire industry kind of loved and really wanted to use the system for 10 for a while.
Yes.
Like, there were a lot of other RPGs that used similar, or in the case of Lord of the Rings, the Third Age, used basically the same system.
It sure did.
And the one company that didn't really think there was any reason to go back to that system was Square Enix.
Yeah, they really jumped ahead to, like... I mean, they jumped immediately into an MMO after that, so of course, they had to change for that, and then decided,
well,
hey,
MMO,
and then for the next full game was all like, let's keep going with the MMO, with some of the MMO systems in the main game.
And, also 10-2. And 10-2 was, hey, what if we take the brakes off of the ATV
it also
instead?
Should be noted. Actually, I have a document here to support what I'm about to say, I think.
Yes.
Let me Google it. Let me look it up. Let me bring it up here so I can, for me to look at. I'm not putting it on stream. Support a little bit of information I have. Yeah. 10 is where the development of this series slowed down. Up until 10, they were coming out about every 1 year to 1 to 2.5 years between games. After 10,
even through the PS1 era.
Yeah, no, the release dates of this series in order of just the numbered games: 87, 88, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 97, 99, 2000, 2001. And then 11 happens between 2001 and 2006. I think it happened in 2002. Yeah, 11 is 2002, so it's another that's another yearly development. And that's when it starts slowing down because an MMO lasts a while. 12 doesn't come out until 2006. And then after 12, 13 takes another 3 years. And then, of course, 14 happens, and that's a whole saga. And of course, everyone remembers, 15 took over a decade from when it was announced.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a very extreme case, but still, the development of these games and games in general really started to understandably slow down in the PS2 era.
Some of that's just the realities of the HD era. Some of that's honestly, I was thinking about stuff that was happening around those dates. That's also when they started pivoting into doing a lot more big side games. Obviously 10-2. I don't remember exactly when that came out. Dirge of Cerberus. It's not like they hadn't done side games before. There were Final Fantasy Legend, which were technically the mana games, but
dang, doesn't let me use Warp to go back to the main room.
There's Mystic Quest on SNES. during the SNES era. Like, there have been other side games, but, like,
Oh yeah.
it really feels like that's around when they start focusing.
The side games before that were coming out generally concurrently with these games. Like, you know, like the first Mana game comes out in between 3 and 4. Tactics came out like months after 7, like like months before or after 7. Like they were the same year. Like
that's not to say it's an entire explanation.
Oh yeah, no. I wasn't trying to dispute you or anything.
A lot slower, and also Square Enix just was having a lot of trouble adjusting, and still kind of is having trouble.
Square Enix has had its problems for many years. Nightmare Company. Actually, let's see. We could probably fight this guy. They're probably fight this guy.
It's fine to fight the guy.
It's fine to fight guys. Sorry.
You're fine.
But yeah, it's definitely just a case of like, again, pivoting to an MMO for the series, as the main game in the series changed, you know, the schedule, and then again, the realities of game dev were significantly changed around that time.
Like 13 was the first HD game in the series. Not counting 14, because
I mean, also, or actually, 10, right after 10 will also be around the time they merge with Phoenix, because that was right between. That was I mean, my point of reference for this, my frame of reference for this, because it is that the merger happened between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. And that's around that same time period. So that would also probably be a part of it, is that they really expanded they you know, is like, and part of an issue they have going forward is that they expanded, you know, the number of projects they have available to work on and are concurrently working on at any given time, and that's part of why they have so many problems, because they have too many projects going on at one time.
And like all of this is ignoring the Hawaii branch and that whole pile of crap that happened.
Okay, I gotta go that way.
Like, in case y'all in the audience don't know, I will briefly mention it. The Hawaii branch was the branch of Squaresoft that they set up specifically to focus on their movie projects, and we kind of know how that went.
Oh boy, freaking Spirits Within.
But a big influence on 9, probably the 10 game. 10 also, not 10-2. 10-2 came out well after that.
10 TOO. Oh, god dang it. Wrong way.
It was the other way. This part would be much meaner in the original version of just sort of hunting for the
I know if I were a child playing this game on the original version, I would have been here in this room. I wouldn't have made it this far, because the first time they did a room like this, well, before us, I would have been like, but there's no path forward.
That's why you've got to read the manual. I'm sure it had a bit about, there's secret passages.
Probably not even the manual. Probably talk to your friends on the schoolyard, at best.
Or buy a guide.
Yeah, or buy a guide.
I think that in the US, we kind of underestimate sometimes how much the secondary market of game guides
look at that.
Influence development in Japan.
We get to start the fight on our own. That's good.
That's good. This is the world of darkness. It's not like you have the power of darkness. They also talk and sing. That's fun.
Yeah. They also kind of look like dragoons.
They do kind of look like dragons.
I wonder if there's concept art for those guys somewhere. I know, like, there's no more detailed art of them in the game or anything, obviously, but, like, this is a very powerful fight background.
I love this galaxy print. There it is.
Famous move of Cloud of Darkness.
She loves shooting particle beams.
I like how it's got kind of like this, like, horror movie sting going on in the background of this boss music.
Yeah, they really did well with this remix.
Yeah, the remix, the music's been really good across all of these, even if some of it feels like it lacks a little bit of a punch that probably was there originally in some cases that we've seen, but overall,
one thing I'm very glad for, that a lot of, well, not necessarily a lot of, but at least one fan soundtrack remake, kind of. Well, I'm thinking about it. There's another game that kind of has this problem.
Oh dear.
I feel like a
faster
lot
than
of
our healer.
Yeah, that's a bummer. A lot of folks, when they are thinking of remastering music of these games, even like in certain earlier remasters and stuff, like in FF12's Zodiac Age Edition, just sticking an orchestrated version of the soundtrack in there, even if that doesn't entirely make sense for every track. I got real mad at this with the Moguri mod for FF9. There's a very big general meant to be a sort of more full-on remake style enhancement mod for FF9 called Moguri. It's mostly done through AI upscaling because they're a small team, there's only so much they can do. I don't like how it looks. I think it removes the depth from all scenes. The other big problem I had with it is this, to be fair, was an optional thing. But one of the optional things that it includes is an orchestrated soundtrack for it. It includes orchestrated tracks for things like the main battle theme, which should not be played by an orchestra. It's a prog rock song.
Yeah.
They didn't. There was nary a keyboard to be heard. And I don't know.
Yeah. It has been making me
like
think
that's
about
an
whether
easy trap.
I will just emulate the PS1 games.
I think that'd be pretty reasonable. It's not hard to run those.
See if I can
like,
find. It's just definitely like it's easier to find mods for like the script in 7 and all that for if I go with the PC version, of course. Or I could just I could just be I could just go for the PC versions and only really do like minor modding like that kind of thing,
Yeah, I think that would be entirely reasonable too. Like, the only real problem with the PC versions of 7 and 8 are that they have the MIDI soundtracks. The MIDI soundtracks aren't great. 9 has the slightly bigger problem of phone UI.
Yeah.
Which is more a matter of taste than anything else, and I just don't like those chunky menus.
I mean, yeah. MIDI music, like, would that not be an issue with, like, the emulation? I don't know much about, like, you know, musical choices of the original versions.
The PC versions of 7 and 8, because they did have PC ports back in the day.
Right. Right, they did.
Due to the sound engine they were working with on PC, they had to have MIDI music for whatever reason. I don't know the exact reasoning behind it, but they had MIDI soundtracks because they wanted to... I think because they wanted to have as much compatibility with a bunch of different sound cards as they could.
Makes sense.
Rather than worry about ensuring CD quality stuff.
That was a much more serious concern with computer games back then, for sure.
Yeah. The soundtracks on PS1, I think, They might use either CD quality audio. I think they use CD quality audio. Or they might use the PS1 sound chip. I'm not sure which. But either way, it was just using different technology. But, like, you can mod.
Yeah, I'm sure I can. I'm sure, like, once we get closer to 7, I will start looking into a reasonable amount of mods for those games. Seems like we have reached the limit of haste, at least from Box's Cider on our night. That's interesting to know now at the end that there is a limit on haste. But also, it's the first fight where we would have really encountered such a thing, so I guess that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, GG's got him. The 4 shurikens at the start helped a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked about maybe getting graphical mods for 7, because it's weirdly inconsistent across it.
There's definitely some graphical mods for 7 I'm interested in. There's a really interesting graphical mod where they update the textures on the models to look so that the art looks a little similar to the official concept art, which is very interesting. It's very interesting to look at. I'll have to see.
I was the last time I played 7, I did play it on PC with those models because for some reason the graphics in 7 have always bothered me a little bit. I think though that it's the inconsistency bothers me a lot more in 3D. So while there are a lot of very nice mods to like increase the detail of your field sprites, I kind of do wish there was one that just made your guys in battle also low poly and chunky.
Yeah.
I feel like that would also fix my problem.
It's the first time in the series where you go sort of like that, where it's like the sprites in battle, this battle and overworld sprites, you know, were always had this, you know, very little guy energy up through the first 6 games. And then 7, you go from, oh, you have this overworld like 3D poly little guy, and then, oh, we're trying to make him look like a real person in size in 7. And then they change, and then of course 8 onward, you know, that's much more consistent between overworld and battle. It's just 7 is one that stands out for sure, where you go from very chunky low poly cloud to less chunky low poly cloud. Bimmy, Kimmy, Timmy, Jimmy.
It's interesting that we got that epilogue text and then it goes back into the game.
Yeah.
I wonder why they did it that way this time.
Who knows? I wonder if perhaps that was the actual ending of the game in the original and that this is new. I think that's...
I don't think so. Like, I think...
yeah, I'm
Let
just
me pull out my ultimate again. I think they had... Oh, these guys showing... I love it. I love that these guys get their own part in the epilogue.
Yeah. I mean, hey, one of them saved us. One of them saved us from the dragons, so, you know, Yeah, even this, we're getting this whole epilogue compared to
Yeah,
like
2 kind of tried this once again, but it really wasn't much.
yeah.
Yeah, there's quotes from this epilogue in
Okay.
in
But
like
yeah, it's just a
section that is
strange case
specifically
of
about the original version.
ending on that sort of text like, because I thought that was going to be the end, because that was the same background as what they do for the credits in these Pixar
Yeah,
remasters.
I feel like they were doing this partially to surprise audiences at the time.
Yeah,
setting up. That's kind of how 1 ended, where you just beat chaos and immediately cut to
the wall of text. Yeah,
text. And I think this is to surprise you with, no, we're actually taking the time to send off every character.
Maybe. Back to Little Ship.
Did we give that kingdom a big warship?
I guess. I don't know.
Is that what happened?
I'm not sure. I will be honest. I kind of zoned out on some of the dialogue boxes there. Well, I guess we're going back home, so we have to be small ship to get back home.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, they made a little cockpit
They made a little cockpit for the show. Yeah.
Who? Oh, the
Selena.
princess?
Daw. He's got a crush.
That's cute.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, we are here in the epilogue and sort of ending this game out. Like, yeah, this is just a good game. I think this was just a really pleasant time. I think gameplay wise, I think it's still you know, like a step below 5 a game. But you know, obviously I really love 5, but I think 5 refines the systems a lot better. But like, still, it was very interesting. There's still a lot really going on that's interesting, and it was systems to chew on and sort of play around with. Whereas 2
this is so fucking cute, by the way.
Yeah. This is a lot cuter than, and the random prince guy and the princess are together now at the end of 2.
Mm-hmm. Like, I actually do care about all these characters. They were...
This part of the story has been weird since the beginning. The way
affection to all 4 of us at once, I guess.
Yeah, the way they play up, you know, like the princess having some kind of attraction to you is presented in such a weird way throughout this game.
I mean, inherently, because we're 4 characters talking at once.
Yeah, like, I guess the
At
idea
all
is like it's
times.
the lead character, but like, yeah, who knows? I forgot about the Mohawk dudes. I forgot about the Mohawk sprite. God, I love the Mohawk sprite.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Wacky.
Like, I don't want to just say this light. I'm not just saying this like throwing this around lightly. I feel bad about that, but like, the best word I can think of to describe how the relationship is presented, her affection, is obsession. That's really weird.
It is weird.
It is kind of in that way of, like, you know, anime, you know, like not necessarily like anime. I don't want to say anime, but you know what I mean. Of like,
I know what you mean. This sort of tropey
like,
yeah,
thing that happens.
It's more to fill the story role.
Yeah, it's tropey comedy affection kind of thing. A new dawn has come. But yeah, like I was saying, this is just the systems of like 2 were interesting to start with, but over time, I just there wasn't as much to chew on. And yeah, here's this is the thing they put in all these pixel remasters, and it's very very touching. But with two, it's like over time as we get by the time we got to the end of the game, it's all like, well, I'm not really making any decisions with this system anymore. I've made my decisions at the beginning, and we're kind of just it's basically just like it's the same as choosing your classes at the start of one, but with like a lot of more steps to make them work, and it's like it ends up being also Kazuko Shibuya. That is the name of the pixel artist the last time that I was trying to remember. But yeah, it just ended up being, like the systems were like interesting at the start to think about, but then by the end it was all like, I don't care anymore. I'm not really interested. It's kind of lost its luster, and it's
fair.
And I feel, it's worse than the ones in one, because I just directly feel like I made this is not working out very well. I made a bad decision 20 hours ago, and I feel like there's the option that I could just I could pivot here. It's not impossible to pivot at this point, but I don't. But like that makes me want to do it less, because I feel like I would rather just start the game over, which is what I would have to do in one, And this, however, on this end, I don't feel that. I didn't feel anything like that. The job system is more interesting. There is more to sort of like play. Like if I feel more interested in possibly playing around with it. Okay, I'll switch this character to this job and see how it works out for this purpose. And it
actually fulfills the promise of freedom.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah. It is. There's substance to the systems, and in a way that, like, again, I really love it in 5 even more so, where you can really just mix and match in 5 in super interesting ways, and that's why I love that game so much. And 3, while you can't mix and match as much, like within a specific character, I mean, you can't mix and match 2 jobs together or anything, but like you can play around with your team comp. You can play around with what you are doing in to suit a situation as needed. And that's really cool.
All I have to say is a dumb joke for people who have been keeping up with FF14, at least through the last expansion, which is, look, the light, it's so beautiful. The road that we walk is lost in the flood.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like...
Immediate pivot into, oh shit, bad thing happened.
We did everything right. I mean, it's even playing the music from Shadowbringers here now.
Yep. It is just funny to think of that happening immediately after this.
Yeah. Spanish translator, Aguayo. It's a cool name. Matrix Corporation.
But yeah, I pretty much, I really enjoy this game.
Yeah, this is just
it was a lot
of
fun.
There's a specific credit for the person who designed Hecaton Care. The guy who's definitely not a Hecaton Care. I mean, I guess if they're looking at there, I wonder if that's maybe a thing of like, I don't know if that's an old credit or a new credit. Like, did they have to redesign that for this version or something?
According to the Ultimate Archive, once again, it is very useful. I have this today. Apparently, in 3, it is specifically mentioned in that one. Other members of the staff did work on monster designs. It doesn't go into which ones they did, but...
Well, it wasn't even just like other members of staff. That was for someone listed under a completely separate company,
Yeah,
that was in the credits for a separate
was somebody
company.
who was stopping by during development.
Yeah, or maybe it was,
like
outsourcing was definitely a thing they did, like, across multiple games, even back then, But I have to want... I don't know.
It does mention some of the designs were done by other folks.
Yeah.
particularly when they. Oh, I see.
Because because I just looked it up, and Hecaton Care did look like that even in the NES version. So it's like it's not like that. So that wouldn't be new.
Oh, okay, I see. The designs on these 2 pages are the ones that were designed by folks other than Amano. So to go through them as quickly as I can, some of the monsters designed by not Amano, but by the staff. The Griffin, the Helldiver, the Leprechaun, the Rustbird, Petite, the Roper, Twin Heads, Cockatrice, Seahorse, Charbidus, Mermaid, Pterodactyl, and Sea Lion. I don't know if that's a full list of all of them that were designed by staff instead of Amano, but I will also mention the art.
Sorry, I was looking at I ended up clicking through from Hecaton Care to Titan, because that was the same sprite. This is what the 3D version of Titan looked like. That's just Thancred. That's just Thancred. That's just Thancred.
This is Thancred.
This is Thancred.
Yeah, that's Thancred. That's a Thancred in the Speedo and very buff and angry.
Yeah. Man. It's nice to end. It's nice finally to end one of these things. I know we're still very early in this whole project, more or less. It's nice to end one of these on feeling pretty good, really overall pretty good about the game. not that I felt negative about one, but more ambivalent when I finished one.
One was a game I was glad to experience. This one was a good game.
Yeah. One is certainly one of the games of all time. Yeah, I'm very excited, especially now. This was one I was very much looking forward to the most, just because, again, this is a game that we didn't get for a long time. This is the first time this game has really been available in a form like this to our areas of the world. And so it's very exciting to see this like this instead of only having the 3D version or such, to try to see, or a fan translated version.
I'm really excited to get to the PS1 games still.
Yes.
I feel like
Same.
Those are the ones I'm most interested in. Just because that's kind of my favorite era of Final Fantasy.
For me, I'm excited to get to there because that's about where I start knowing even less about the games overall, aside from 7, which is mostly very well known due to cultural osmosis. But
I feel like there might still be some things about it that surprise you.
I know. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's I know the broad strokes of 8's plot. I know, because people talk about it a lot. I know the broad strokes of 7 and some broad strokes of 9 and 10 and and such. But there's definitely a lot I don't know about those games. And again, those are games that are so discuss. Again, part of why I wanted to do this whole thing of playing through all these games on stream and sort of talking about them is that those games are talked about so much online. Those games are talked about so much in very, very opinionated ways, and I want to be able to have my own experience and develop my thoughts on them myself. And that's why that's why I'm excited to get to see some of these more controversial kind of ones like 8 and such. And
I feel like 7's kind of
7 too is very controversial overall.
7 has been having more and more growing backlash against it.
Yeah,
I feel like the way I'd compare it to is it's kind of like the Beatles of gaming, in that there's a generation that you will talk to that says it is the best thing ever made, and then there's a generation immediately after that you'll talk to, and they don't care for it.
Yeah. I mean, I would personally say Beatles is a very harsh way of describing that kind of how it is. I think it's probably going to end up I think we're going to end up with a much warmer disposition than than my current thoughts on the Beatles.
Fair enough. I
know, not that I'm saying like the Beatles are bad. Just one of those. Just I'm very much in the camp of, man, the Beatles are very overrated, and that's more of an issue of like the way of like music history, how music history is
than anything else. But yeah, beside the point, beside the whole point, I was making the metaphor to prove the point that
I know
there was a certain time where you really couldn't say anything bad about Seven.
Yeah.
People would look at you weird.
No, but yeah, no, I got what you meant. Sorry, I just the specific mention of the Beatles made me think like, my brain went to like, I don't think I'd go that far, but then I realized that wasn't what you were going for.
Yeah, no, like, I think there's much more like legit. It's the apples to oranges in some ways, is how I'd put it.
Yeah.
Also, I like the Beatles just fine.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they're fine.
Anyway, you once again didn't fill out the bestiary.
No, I'm not going to.
Shame on you.
There she be.
Yeah, that's the design that they drawn for Dissidia.
Yeah. This is probably one at the time. This is one of the biggest departures from concept art to in-game sprite of them all, probably. Although I'm sure there's concept art of her looking like that out there by Amano, I'm sure, but
maybe
it's definitely
it's also like
there's a lot of elements that carry through, obviously, but like.
Her appearance in game much more matches what was described in that design doc, so I think it might have been more of a design side plan that she looked that way.
Yeah. Probably.
Anyway, I was also going to say I'm very excited to get to the PS1 games, both so I can see you form your opinions on them, and also so I can form your opinion on 8 and make sure you think it's good.
Hey, I invited you. I invited you in to do this, and
my devious trap.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I really want to like 8. That's the thing. So like I'm going in with a. 8 is the one that 8 is up there with this one in terms of the ones I was most excited to get to, because of just it's one that makes my experience with hearing about it online has been mostly people not caring for it, but then people who I really know and trust and have their own very well reasoned opinions, that even if they go against the general consensus, have said like, no, 8's really good. 8's got really good stuff going on, and I like it. And people are a little unfair to it, and it's like, okay, I want to see 8 for myself then.
Yeah, 8's got problems.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna
sugarcoat it.
I'm not saying it's
problems.
I'm not saying I expect it to be perfect or anything for sure, but
it's.
I know it's definitely got a. I know it's definitely got a very strange gameplay system that.
I will help with the game system. Also, I will put it out there that there's a reason that FF8 shipped with a mini walkthrough in the back of the manual. There are things you want to know while proceeding through that game that the game does not communicate to you in any way, despite having the world's longest tutorials.
Word.
The other thing I will say about it is that the plot is extremely messy, but in a way that the messy gay bitch, really likes.
This game goes out to all the messy gay bitches out there. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to continue this whole project. I love Final Fantasy. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Excited to play it someday. No.
Well, you played that one.
I say that like I haven't played, a good number of games in the series up to this point. Just not all of them. Not the ones that, I want. Not the ones that people talk about a lot. But yeah. I think I'm gonna make this just a short stream today. Just do this. I was thinking like maybe I go back in and do like Leviathan and Bahamut and all that, but I like.
It's gonna be big boss fights and maybe
it's gonna be
a small dungeon leading up to the
like
boss
we saw
fights.
the Leviathan. We saw the Leviathan dungeon. The Bahamut dungeon is probably just gonna be that same one from the start of the game again.
But maybe with harder enemies in it.
Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just only Bahamut. And we've seen Odin and got destroyed by Odin once. So it's like we're not really seeing much else we haven't seen already.
Yeah. Like the summon animations maybe. You can go to YouTube. You can look those up.
Yeah, you can get... And like the summon animations... The summon animations in these games don't really start popping off till the PlayStation 1. It's like
I have heard that Odin does already do Zentetsu and cut things in half.
Oh yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. We're gonna see that. We don't need to see that here. We're gonna see it in 5. I'm not gonna. Sure. Five is the first one of these we're getting to where I am going to be showing off things to my good friend here with me. Is where I the person who has played 5 like half a dozen times now will be able to play around in the space I know. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. Next week, we will be starting Final Fantasy IV, and I will talk with our good friend Million Sandwiches to see if he will be joining us for that.
Yeah,
and and the rest of this week, more Cinders mod. Probably tomorrow, probably maybe also the next day, depending on how I feel. Friday or Saturday, depending on other plans, whether I stream on Friday or not. I want to do the story mode for KOF 15 because it will be legal to do that now. I will not get blasted by the SNK police for streaming the story mode after. Actually, technically Thursday is when when it comes out, and they'll be fine. But we'll see how I feel about doing it on Thursday versus Friday. But yeah. And then from there, next week again, starting FF4, more hopefully I might schedule extra day schedule just like every other day for Cinders mod just to finish the Cinders mod. I've been thinking I probably won't stream Elden Ring when it comes out just because I feel like it's too new. I don't most people I think who are interested are going to be playing it and or are going to want to play it themselves later, and I don't want to run the risk of randomly attracting that guy, that guy, that random chatter, and also because I want to have I don't want to stream like I'm going to want to play, basically all weekend. I don't want to stream all weekend, especially because I want to play co-op with friends and such. So
yeah,
I don't think going forward, I don't think at this time I am much of a brand new game streamer outside of like fighting games kind of thing. Games that have a reason to be streamed when they're new rather than story heavy games. Games that people are going to want to experience themselves. So yeah. Only set plans for the rest of this month are the Cinders mod and starting Final Fantasy IV.
Hell yeah.
And then
probably some KOF in there.
Probably some KOF. Yeah, probably some more KOF for sure. Having a lot of fun with that. Yeah. Good night, everybody. thank you for hanging out. Thank you for experiencing the end of Final Fantasy 3 with us. I will see you later.
Later.